Hey, it's Chris. iOS 16 is full of great improvements. Let's go through some of the smaller ways it's going to change life first. One of the smallest details that I absolutely love is the new sound that Siri makes when activated in CarPlay. Much less abrasive. Lock screen widgets are certainly interesting to me. Helpful, I wish I could get another row of them, and it'll be great to see when there's more to choose from. It's very cool and useful to be able to tap a photo subject to lift it out of the background and paste it somewhere else. It's not just convenient, but potentially money saving for anybody who's been paying for a background removal app. Now, it does take some practice to learn the right amount of pressure to use, and you also have to not aim for text so you don't activate live text. It's hard to believe that adding multiple stops along your routes and maps has taken so long to get here, but it's here and it's useful. And it's also cool that you can now track and meet your fitness goals without an Apple Watch. This makes sense. iPhones do have a lot of sensors. You have it with you all the time. It's not as convenient as having an Apple Watch. And one of the nice things about the Apple Watch is that you can wear it and ditch your iPhone. But still, this is cool.
All right, this is the new and improved cinematic mode. It's supposed to have better blurring effects and better focus on your subjects. So you tell me, does it look any better? I think it might be slightly improved, which is a huge improvement.
And the ability to turn on automatically send messages so that Siri doesn't have to read everything back to you before sending is priceless. Really like the new Home app redesign because it makes it less of a headache to use. That's important. And also, I love that you can now get a security camera view that shows you 4 angles at once. Now, I use Apple Pay wherever I can, whether it's in person or online, and I'm really liking that you can track your packages, your orders, right within your wallet now. Also pretty excited to see iCloud shared photo library rolling out, because I don't know what you've been doing, but for my family, we've tried out several different apps over the last decade to share photos with everybody, and I think every single one of those apps has died. Rest in peace. So it's nice to have this just baked right into the system. You know it's not going anywhere. Also exciting to see better family sharing and child account management coming to iOS 16, because the world and the internet are crazy places. So those are some of the smaller features that are really cool that I'm excited about. But let me talk about some of the bigger features that I think are going to have a bigger impact in terms of our both digital and actual quality of life. Practically speaking, messages is where a lot of people spend a lot of their time and attention. And messaging on the iPhone has been missing certain features that were desperately needed and very much wanted, like mark as unread, one of the most seismic upgrades for me personally, because the other day I ignored a family member for like 3 or 4 days, not on purpose, but because I read their message and couldn't mark it as unread and forgot about it. Now, subscribers know I'm a huge fan of the Reminders app. I pretty much live in there when it comes to productivity and getting things done. I don't really use an app like Things or a to-do list app. I just use Siri and Reminders, and that's how I get things done. And the Reminders app has gotten so many improvements in iOS 16 that I'm gonna make a whole separate video about it. So that's a good reminder to get subscribed if you wanna go through all the ins and outs. But I will just say pinned list and the scheduled and today lists along with templates go a really long way towards making the Reminders app better in terms of competition for third-party to-do lists if, unlike me, you actually use one. Now, if you ask me, Chris, what is your favorite new feature in iOS 16? I might tell you it's the new dictation. Now, it would be split, honestly, between the messaging features, which are kind of boring. It's just they needed to happen, and the dictation, because that's something that I'm going to use all the time. Not just for responding to emails or for messages or anything like that, but I feel like I can actually get some work done. I could write a whole article with this dictation without actually needing a keyboard because it's so good at inserting punctuation, and it's so nice not to have to activate it, deactivate it, activate it, deactivate it whenever you want to voice something and type something. It's so seamless now. I just love it. In terms of convenience, the only thing that could possibly make this dictation better is if it would write stuff for you, which seems impossible, but it's not. That's something that Jasper, my favorite AI writing assistant, does that I use all the time. So I'll link it up for you if you're new around here, but I love it. All right, let's talk about the newly redesigned lock screen. Now, I like it, but I'm not into it for the design aspect for it. Not because I don't like the new aesthetic options or anything. It's not that. And by the way, if you're needing some new wallpapers to spice things up, we just uploaded some new ones to the Daily Tech wallpaper store, so I'll link that up in the description. But what mostly has me excited about the redesigned lock screen is, number one, the widgets. We talked about that already. But number two, the live activities and the notifications that appear at the bottom. It's funny because when I was out at WWDC, to hear these announcements in person, I was dealing with having to open up the Uber app all the time and check on the status of my ride. And had the live activities been live already, then it would have saved me a lot of hassle. I could have just glanced at my lock screen and seen what was going on without having to get in and open up the app and wait for it to load. Live activities is gonna be amazing. And having the notifications down at the bottom of your lock screen probably had something to do with the combination of not wanting to cover up the new design / putting it closer to your thumb so you can interact with things a little bit easier. Whatever the reason, I do really like the new placement. It's much easier to scroll through and interact with. Now, what about for the power users out there? I know the power users are like, what is there for me? These updates to the way things look and a few new features here and there are cool, but what about for productivity and really digging in and getting more done? Well, Apple's focus mode has always been great for that, but the focus filters that are here are going to take things to the next level. So focus has always acted as a shield of sorts to filter out the apps that you don't want to see at any given time. But with the new focus filters, you can not only filter out the apps that you don't want to see at a given time, but you can also filter out the items within apps that you don't want to see at any given time for that extra level of granular focus. I also find it interesting that you can create multiple lock screens now and tie certain lock screens to particular focus modes. And I'm not sure how useful that's going to be right out of the gate for somebody like me. It'll probably get more useful when there's more widgets to choose from. But I guess in terms of just context switching and knowing, okay, here I'm on lunch, now it's after work hours, or right now I need to be focusing and concentrating and just having different visual cues, that is kind of interesting. And one thing that all of Apple's updates from WWDC do this year, whether it's on the Mac, iPhone, or iPad, is really focus on collaboration. And this makes sense, right? This is kind of an update that was born out of the COVID and lockdown era, and people were doing a lot of stuff remotely. Nobody wants to go back into the office. So the Freeform app is coming. That's going to be amazing. You have all these new share play options that are both for work and for fun, right? You want to watch something while you're messaging somebody about it in sync, you can do that. So I think the collaboration is a big story here, and the deepness of that integration into almost everything that Apple's putting out there really does set it apart from other options, ecosystems. So let me give you my assessment of iOS 16, the updates here. And I think a good way to frame this is, does iOS 16 let you do more? Or does it let you do what you always kind of could, just better? I feel like, and this is just going off of a gut reaction here, that it's something like 30% new, actually new, interesting stuff, and maybe 70+% or somewhere around there for just, a new way to do old things. Well, if all I got were the redesign notifications on the home screen, the reminders updates, the dictation and the live activities and the messaging updates, I'd be pretty happy. Almost everything else I haven't paid a whole lot of attention to, and a lot of the things I may not end up even remembering or thinking about or using that much. Like the mail updates, a lot of these updates are kind of like a long time coming, so long in coming that other apps have had these features for a really long time. Safari with shared tab groups and stuff, it's interesting. I just don't know how much I'm gonna use it. There's all these little things that you kind of notice as you're going about your business in iOS 16 that you're like, is it better? Is it not? And it's really mostly just a matter of becoming more familiar with it, because as you get familiar, then you become more comfortable with it. And for a good example is like the way that notes show up now in this sort of different hierarchical order, so that you have what you've worked on today and then a big gap and what was yesterday or a couple days ago and then everything else. That takes a little getting used to, but at the end of the day, I think I have ended up liking it. So I think overall iOS 16 feels like a really good, solid update. It doesn't feel like there was anything that was super mind-blowing this year, but that's the word, I think, solid, solidly useful. And you know what else is solidly useful? Two things, actually. Number one, the Daily Tech newsletter. Put your app and accessory discovery on autopilot. It'll just show up in your inbox on Fridays and you'll be like, wow, a cool new app and a great new accessory I never knew about before. So there's that. And then also the Daily Tech podcast. That's a great thing to listen to on Fridays. Kind of some behind the scenes information. That's also linked up. But right now, we're going to head over to the other channel, the Daily Tech After Party. It's brand new, where we're just going to have a chill hangout and talk about the latest in the world of Apple, the Apple news, Apple ecosystem stuff. If you want to do that, that's linked up down below. I'm headed over there right now. So if you want to follow, I'll see you over there. Later.